Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session of the HMPW, where we're going to look into the Joint Analysis Workspace. My name is Cecilia Utas, and I am leading the JAWS initiative. That is an initiative under the DEEP project. I'm also with the Danish Refugee Council, as DRC is the secretariat of DEEP at this point in time. With me today, I'm also having Nayedu Roscoe from DFS, that is product lead for JAWS. You will meet him a bit later into the session in more. And then as well, we have Herbert Tatham from OCHA that is also with us on the call, that will make a brief intervention when it comes to the Joint Intersectoral Analytical Framework and the status of that. And then as well, we have Madigan Johnson with us from DFS that will help us a bit on the support of the session. So over to you, Madigan.
Yes, just quickly, just some kind of general housekeeping rules. So we will go through the presentation itself. We will have time for questions and answers at the end, but if you have questions in the meantime, please drop them into the chat and we will do our best to answer them throughout the presentation as well. All right, back to you.
Okay, thank you. Did you mention that you're also recording so people are aware of that?
Yes, we are also recording this just so everyone is aware. So please let me know if that's not possible.
Okay, so thank you. So welcome again. And I would just want to kind of open the session with looking at the landscape that we are working with. I think we are all very much aware that that it's an increasingly difficult landscape, particularly when it comes to funding in the humanitarian sector, where we need to look forward to a way of doing more for much less. And of course, we see in this landscape, of course, as you all know as well, an increased amount of needs that is climate driven, but of course, as well, an escalation of conflicts, etc., over the globe. So with that as well, with the humanitarian funding landscape that we see is having a structural decline, in the sense that it is not merely a whim by one of our traditional donors that we have had in the last couple of months to deal with, but we can also see that it is a trend that will continue. And I also think that we can hear in the way that everyone within the humanitarian sector is seeing, we are ready to reform. And we do see that we have a lot of homework to do. So there's a lot of self-criticism as we take this forward. Having said that as well, we are the JAWS project, the JAWS initiative, and also DEEP to some extent, is collateral of the recent event, in the sense that we have to halt our activities for the development of JAWS at this point in time. But we still really firmly believe that we are part of the solutions going forward. So that's why we decided that we wanted to maintain this session and also maintaining this discussion going when it comes to the Joint Analysis Workspace and what it can do for the humanitarian community. I believe that in the next 6 to 12 months that the organizations around us will all scramble as to be able to save not only lives, but also their own programs, etc., and so on. But in the longer term, we know that we will need to finding better ways of targeting our response. And that is where I think that the data-driven precision will be essential, where we need more analytics that are helping us to have an efficient response, enabling precise targeting with those very limited resources. I also think that you all have heard, and also the calling for more collaborative action. And that is where I see that the Joint Analysis Workspace is basically future-proofed, because that is all what it is about. We are going to see how we can use tools to better break the silos for a shared impact as we're going forward. So what is then the future of analysis when we are looking at it? We need to shift it. We need to meet those new challenges and also the demand of more innovative approaches. We need to ensure that we have that shared understanding. We're talking about it for years, but we also know that it's also been a bit of a challenge to really get everyone to subscribe to that same common picture. We need to have those collective agreement on exact needs and priorities. We also know that it's more of a call for common services, how we can have those shared platforms that eliminate redundant efforts. Just recently, the emergency relief coordinator that he was is tasking the ISC principals to support him on this and highlighting the need for common services where we can centralize in core functions, both from logistics to data management, so we can reduce those costs and also improving the delivery quality for all stakeholders. Then again, another part of that call is to break those silence and also end, as I think he mentioned, mandate wars, but basically the mandates, conflict in mandates that we see. It's to dismantle the organization and thematic boundaries that we see and replace them with frameworks for cross-sectoral collaboration. And again, embracing new technology. So how we can leverage emerging technology as we are going forward to enable coordination and better impact to coordinate our efforts. So that is really where we see that JAWS and also DEEP is really providing the support to. So one part, the platform DEEP, that is basically the basis of the solution of JAWS, is the data entry and exploration platform, and that has been around for some 8 years at this point in time, and keep evolving and integrating new technology when available. It is an intelligent online platform that is supporting, again, collaborative humanitarian analysis, mainly focusing on qualitative and unstructured data, but promoting transparency and data sharing. It is not only a platform, it is also a community. It's a strong partnership with key humanitarian actors, where we have both the UN, the Red Cross, Red Crescent movement, and also the civil society that is engaging directly in the governance board of DEEP. But then again, we have, of course, a huge array of users in the DEEP platform. So that is the basis when we were going into the next step, where we were then seeing how we could take DEEP to the next level, that we say doing comprehensive joint analysis. So that was the seed of establishing the concept of the Joint Analysis Workspace, where we not only want to utilize qualitative data, but also integrate quantitative data with elicit expert judgment. And what we will be able to do through JAWS, and what I would say is future-proofing it with the background of just as I was saying, is that it is a tool for collaborative analysis, but it's also a place where we can have a more versatile framework implementation, more robust data integration, where we have advanced connectors and APIs, ingesting data set from the different platform that is already available. So the JAWS will not, so to speak, we will complement rather than actually duplicate those efforts that's already out there, to ensuring that we have comprehensive and up-to-date information as we're working within our analysis. So that's where we are going. So what is then JAWS and how then it's working? So as I said, it will really integrate both quantitative and qualitative data. It will ensuring that you have access to those data points, making it faster, but also be able to help to index and store that data, so to prepare it to actually utilize it in the analysis that we are doing. We will also be able to support on data visualization, and also ensuring that we have the comprehensive picture of both quantitative and qualitative data. It is also then based on a guided analysis process that is taking it from data to insights, and you will see the analytical flow later on. But this will help us to ensure that we have some analytical rigor in the analysis we're doing, that it is transparent, but also that you can reproduce it. So that means that if you're doing maybe a yearly, quarterly, or monthly, so to speak, analysis, then you can always ensure that you're doing it in the same, using the same steps when you're going forward. We're also integrating expert input, and that will be both expert validation, expert opinion, so to speak, but also the possibility to have more structured expert judgment as a tool, as an analytical tool that will help to create opinions to data that then can inform decision in the platform that JAWS is working with. It's also role-based, so that means that you can invite different user roles in different steps of the process, and bringing in, for example, decision makers when you're doing your more response analysis at the end of the process, as to ensure that the data will inform decision making. And also that will, through the audited process that JAWS is entailing, then be able to document those decisions that is taken even in that step. But otherwise, the auditing process will help us to ensure that we have the confidence in the solution, etc., as we're going forward in that. So at this point in time, we have been working over the last 1.5 years and trying to have a solid foundation to JAWS, and ensuring that it then is built on research when it comes to the methodology, to understand what are the type of methodologies that the different users are working with, and also looking at use cases more specifically. So we had a round of discussion with a number of actors as to understand that. And these little circles that you see on the screen right now are representing the different organization that is quite involved and also part of the joint JAWS expert group as to be able to set the specification for the system. There we see the more intersectoral or interagency processes like the GIAF, the Joint Intersectoral Analytical Framework, the UNDRR doing their risk analysis, and also INFORM. We also have some sectors that have been engaged with the CCCM and the GPC clusters as well. And also, of course, the idea is to gear towards more single agencies that can also then utilize the platform. We've had and been set up use case definition for NRC and DRC as to be able to utilize the platform. The idea, of course, with those use cases is that helping us to establish a platform, but it's not in any way excluding others for using the platform. But based on those use cases, we have then been able to establish a methodology that is taking us through a very clear analysis flow, and also ensuring that we have all of those collaborative tools and structured analytical techniques that then will help us to do this transparent and robust analysis as we are striving for. Based on those as well, we have been set some specifications, or the specifications for the platform, and also a data governance policy that then is guiding how the platform will be built. As you can see, those are all links. So when we are sharing this presentation after this session, you will be able to also access those documents if you would be interested in understanding more the details about where we stand. And then at this point in time, we are in a very advanced prototype stage, which we also would have the chance to do a demo for you today, as you get a bit of a flavor of the system, even though we would have liked to take it in to field testing by this time, and we were supposed to, but as you probably understand, we were also then getting the stop work order in mid-January or end of January, and we have not been able to continue at this point in time, which will not mean that we will not, if we're looking for further funding of that. But all of those steps is now then in a regular basis been validated of an expert group. So we have a project group for JAWS that basically is consisting of the use case owners, but also inviting other custodians of global platforms for data and producers of data in the field. That then is basically helped to guide us. We also had a number of other consultations over the time, as well as to ensure that this is happening. Before I'm going to the next slide, I would just also invite Herbert in. I hope he's on the call. Just to say as well, as mentioned, that for the Joint Intersectoral Analytical Framework, we were poised to basically roll out JAWS to support it for the HPC or the GIA for the coming year. But due to that we have to cancel our field testing, etc., we will not be able to, as it looks like at this point in time, to deliver on that commitment for this season. But over to Herbert for a bit of comment on where we stand overall with GF.
Sure. Yeah, can you hear me all right? Great. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Herbert Tatham. I work at OCHA in the Needs and Response Analysis section. I'm the lead for OCHA on Coordinated Needs Assessment. I'm the lead on the GF as well, which brings me here. Yeah, just to say, I mean, if you look back a few slides, the constraints we're facing, the Cecilia presented, the prognostication on how we're going to have to do better with less or do more or the same with less. I mean, it all is a bit of a it's all in alignment with some of the things that the JAWS platform would be able to do. So it's you know, with a lot of disappointment that we see things pause the way they are, but also with some optimism that the JAWS platform is actually well positioned to address some of these constraints we may be facing longer term. And so we committed to working with JAWS for GF to replace the existing analysis environment. Like Cecilia said, about a year and a half ago, we've been working closely with Cecilia and Nayed and others to ensure good alignment. Now, as Cecilia said, we see things on pause, but we choose to be optimistic that things can get rolling again. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty at this time, even with the way that the humanitarian program cycle, which is the main focus for GF, how that will take shape in the future under this new environment. But again, I would say that the JAWS platform, by, you know, reducing silos, by joining up and collaborative analysis and good APIs and connections with other data sources, still looks to us to be a great way to proceed for GF. Maybe I'll stop there, Cecilia, and if you've got anything else you'd like me to discuss or questions, I'm happy, and I'll stay.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Herbert. I think that was a very good kind of depicting where we stand at this point in time. And of course, if you have a question around the GF as well, please add that to the chat. Will join us all the way through, I hope. So yes, no, thank you very much, Herbert. I see I got internet connection unstable. Can you hear me well? Just wanted to check.
I can now. You trailed off a little bit earlier.
Okay, let's hope that it's working. Otherwise, I'm confident that Nayed can step in if I'm kind of trailing away with my internet problems. Okay, thank you. So why is then JAWS future-proof? As I said, it is, as I see it, is that it is supporting that collaborative that will be a necessity for the common services that we are talking about. It is breaking the silos and having the possibility to do that, and also it's involving decision makers into the process and be able to transparently be able to log that. So basically you can really do an end-to-end analysis here, including response analysis, including program priorities and strategies going forward. But framework integration is maybe one of the key features in JAWS, where we are allowing multiple analytical approaches and frameworks. So basically we are trying to standardize while maintaining adaptability to the diverse humanitarian scenarios and contexts that we are working with. But we can also, so we are allowing selection of context appropriate methodologies, but we also have the possibility to enable matching and merging of different frameworks and workspaces for integrated humanitarian analysis. So that means, of course, that if a sector is working, like for example, with example of CCCM that is working on the people in need or severity numbers for the GF inside the cluster, then the output of their information can then feed into the GF workspace itself for that specific country. And that means, of course, that there would be bi-directional connection between the two. So should something change in one workspace, it will then also inform the other workspace that is dependent on the information from there. So in that sense is that we can maintain specifics, but at the same time support breaking the silos through that, which is part that we have been within deep always have a bit of issue with, that you cannot, so to speak, go from one project to the other and transfer the data between two different projects there. And that is one of the main differences when it comes to the structural approach in JAWS. The other one is data integration, of course, where we will integrate diverse data set via APIs and maintaining again bidirectional connection, for example, to the HPC tool. So the idea is, of course, when the output is coming from the GF and the people in need number, that will be informed the HPC platform, and vice versa, should there be information on the HPC platform that is needed into that. We will also maintaining APIs to many of those main platforms that we're working with in humanitarian sector. Of course, again, we are trying to not duplicate any efforts, but instead is we are integrating, for example, data from HDX, again, from the HPC tools, etc., from those platforms that can be preset. You would also be able to, of course, to upload your own specific information, should it be from a country office, from a field office, and Excel that you are maintaining your data, etc., and so on. So yeah, so that's really what how we are seeing this data integration piece. The other part to make this happen is, of course, that we need to ensure that the data that is available is ready for and better for interoperable in that sense. So we also in the kind of our, so to speak, function driving data standardization in the sector as to improve that. And with that, we have been instrumental and also co-chairing a subgroup to the global IAM working group for data standards to support not only for JAWS that this would be a functional piece, but basically supporting the humanitarian sector to move forward. So I think that's an important contribution that we are aiming for with JAWS as well. And with that, I will hand over to Nayid. So you will, let me shift over to you, and yeah, you have a few slides, and then I will shift over to the demo.
Yeah, thanks, Cecilia, and yeah, hello everyone. So yeah, thanks for being here, and let me tell you a little bit more about the analytics part and how JAWS is kind of bringing that opportunity for users to work together with both quantitative and qualitative data. So very quickly on the qualitative side of things, we kind of bring that knowledge and kind of lessons learned that we had building deep, and we allow users, for those ideally will go first and do the qualitative analysis in deep and import that automatically and seamlessly into JAWS. But for others that maybe don't want to spend time in deep, or maybe don't have the resources, we are offering as well in JAWS, and I will show you just in a sec in the demo, a very easy kind of way of extracting and classifying small pieces of or excerpts from the different documents, and classify them based on the analytical framework that people are using. For this, of course, we are using NLP functionalities and AI, and on top of it, we are also allowing to create summaries, and we were also kind of planning to have other tools in the roadmap that would be available in the platform. On the quantitative end, as Cecilia was just mentioning, the idea is that you can fetch information directly from different custodians of data, so connecting directly to the APIs and having what we call a data lake, but originally it was the data library, and then moving into the data lake, working hand in hand with the standardization process, but also giving the users the opportunity to first fetch the data, second, do some basic processing, and I will show you as well in the demo how it looks like, and merging those different data sets with the idea of having a master sheet, what is known as this master data set, and then create some visualizations from there. All of this, of course, is the idea to enhance the analysis and start kind of driving those insights with both quantitative and qualitative data. very quickly, let me show you, we spent quite a bit of time identifying the analysis flow and how the different steps in the process will look like. And you will see a reflection of these steps in the platform. The idea is that we start very simple from the design step, where different roles in a team or in an organization will have, let's say, different moments in the flow. We have the roles as facilitator, data manager, analyst, experts, and decision makers. And you see that each of the bubbles are colored for each of those roles. However, it also kind of depends on the size of the organization, the size of the team. Maybe the facilitator, who's the one responsible of designing the whole analysis, is the same person kind of collating, bringing the information, doing the analysis, and at the end generating the reports. So let me just very quickly give an overview of the steps, and I will do the same in the demo. So in the design, basically you are setting up your analysis, including the scope of analysis, the geographical regions, the analytical depth, meaning if you decide to go all the way to interpretation, anticipation, and prescription, or you just want to stop, let's say, at the description step, and also identify your analytical framework and the users that will be part of your analysis. Then two very specific data steps where you are collating or bringing data from the different sources, either quantitative or qualitative, and then the preparation part, where you are basically kind of making sure that your data is ready to be analyzed. So it means that you are doing some pre-processing for the quantitative or the classification for the qualitative part of it. Then on the description, you are, by your framework, grouping and finding those, let's say, stories or issues that you have identified based on the evidence that you have brought into the system. Also to say here, it's important to note that even if we are kind of depicting it as a linear process, we do know that this is a circular or iterative process where the system also allows you, if you are in the description step, and then you may need to go back to the design and change some of the initial considerations, you are able to do that, but also bring new information or new pieces of evidence for your analysis. Then we have an explanation step where you are seeing at the correlations of these different issues and somehow, putting them into problem trees or other solutions that we are also kind of considering in the process. Then you have interpretation, where you are kind of ranking these different issues and identifying those risks. Then in anticipation, you are basically kind of assessing the severity and the impact of those risks. Prescription step, as we know, looking for the response of those specific issues that we are targeting. And then on the communication part, basically just generating the report and making sure that you can share all the stepped process. And for each of these steps, you have collaboration tools that you can log in the information and then export all of that. So very quickly, that's the analysis flow. And let me just, before going into the demo, tell you a little bit more about the prototype and the process that we kind of had with the prototype. As also Cecilia mentioned, we had several interviews with the different potential use cases. We identified those minimum requirements, those nice to haves, and maybe those tasks that will be more advanced. The idea of this prototype was to do some dry runs or field tests where we can test those basic functionalities. So basically, right now, the development has been placed on hold, but those core functionalities of the system are already implemented, and that's the ones that I will be showing to you. And of course, as any product evolves, you always kind of ask for feedback and iterate over that feedback from users. In terms of technical readiness, the main features are there, including the data processing pipelines, kind of being able to ingest data, to do some basic pre-processing, and start putting together that evidence into the analysis steps. For testing, we have done some internal tests. During December last year, we have an on-site, let's say, playground in Geneva, where for the first time we kind of share with a group of partners, stakeholders, the prototype, and they were able to play with it, provide feedback, and based on that, we did some improvements during the first weeks of January. But still, I mean, we may need to work on some of those, and they are hold at the moment. In terms of stability, I think the system as of today has demonstrated that from the first test is stable. Of course, anytime that you are scaling or putting it into the production, you kind of face other challenges. But for the moment, as small pilots or prototypes, I think we are at good response times and a good performance level. And finally, on the production side, we started doing some development on not, let's say, the low-code, no-code prototype, but rather on the platform itself. But yeah, again, unfortunately, we kind of needed to stop, and let's say to continue the work there is still pending. So let me go to the prototype, which I think is the most interesting part here. So first of all, as I mentioned, there will be the opportunity to have different roles with users compared to Deep, where in Deep you have the projects somehow siloed. Here in JAWS, from the beginning, we thought about creating them at the organizational level, which means that if OCHA, IFRC, or others have their different teams on the ground or different countries, you can set up an organization, and then between that organization, you can have different teams, and each of those teams will be able to have different roles and create their own workspaces. The unit of, let's say, analysis is what we call a workspace. A workspace is a group of analysis. And I will show you just in a sec how it looks like. So first of all, you log in, and then the first thing that you will see as an user is the workspaces that you belong to. In the left pane, you have kind of some quick accesses to the workspaces, the user management, the permissions, and tasks. Those tasks are things that are pending to be resolved or tasks that were assigned to you in each of those analyses. Then you have those workspaces. As I just said, a workspace, imagine it as a folder, and this folder contains multiple or several analyses. So let me, for today, demo presentations, let's go to this one that is Test Sudan, where...
Nayib, I don't see your screen. Have you shared it?
Yes. One sec. Thanks, Cecilia. I think I was sharing before that, but sorry for that. Okay. Are you able to say it now?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, perfect. No, thanks to you. Great. So let me just recap here. So yeah, after the login, you just go, and the first thing that you see here is the workspaces that you belong to. And here on the left pane, yeah, you have kind of these quick accesses. Once you have different workspaces, or one, let's say, you can access each of those. And once you open your workspace, you have the different analyses that have been started under that workspace. The idea here is that you have a group of users or team members that can collaborate in the different analyses. However, as you may imagine, you have kind of also different roles for each of those users, but also permissions that you can also grant to those users. Anytime that you want to start editing one of those analyses, you can just click on Edit or Open, or if you want to delete it, you can do the same as well. You can also create new analysis if you need with kind of basic information here. But as Cecilia was also mentioning, you can start from a previous one. Imagine that you are doing let's say, or a frequent analysis. You can build always on top of the previous one. And you can also select or see those users and teams that have been created and the members in each of those teams. Let me just walk you through how an analysis looks like and the different steps that I was mentioning before. So first of all, you have at the top the different steps as we saw in the analysis flow from the design all the way to communication, and each of those steps, will kind of require some sort of tasks, but the idea is that the system will be guiding you in that process. So first of all, in the design step, the idea is to, as I mentioned, kind of put your specifics of this analysis as title, the date interval, the sector that you are looking at, disaggregation levels, or the objectives that you want to focus on. And then, as a facilitator, you have the option to add geographical areas. Then you have the option as well to add your analytical framework, the methods that you are using, which means that what is the depth of your analysis. So you can easily select the different steps, and you will see here at the top that in this case, the analysis flow is shorter, which means that you will go until description, but at any time you can also add the others, and then you will have those analytical tools that will be available for you in each of the steps. And you can also select your theme, which is basically customizing the header color of the logo and the colors of the visualizations. You can save this design as a template, which means that you can reuse it for future analysis. So that's very quickly first step. Then on the data collation part, basically, you can connect two different APIs, and then automatically, based on what you have defined on the design step as the geographical locations or the admin levels, also the dates, automatically, in this case, I have some examples, not saying that these are only the ones, but we were looking at other APIs, but for demo purposes, I have here from HDX, from Happy, some already connected from DTM as well. And the idea is that you can bring automatically the data. This is live data that is coming based on those filters that you have selected. And then you can add this information to your library. So you can start using it in the next steps. For DTM, we have here as well in terms of displacements, metrics. So you can just put the information here. But you can also, we know that not everything should come from APIs directly. So you can also upload files, ad hoc files, so CSV or PDFs, and then those will be reflected in your data library. So I have uploaded or pre-uploaded some documents here. And ideally, then we'll have what we call the data lake, where we'll have kind of this big repository of data. Then you move into the preparation part, and quickly on this one, on the quantitative side of things, as I mentioned, you will be able to do some pre-processing, basic pre-processing, which the system will identify automatically your columns. You will be defining your alias for each of those columns, the data type, the data role, which means if it's an admin level or gender or vulnerable group. The idea behind that is that when you are doing the merging functionalities, you can very easily kind of merge the data together. And then you will have the option to filter or to change even, to edit the table and to change any of the values if need be. Always having the log of your changes. And that's, I think, one of the plus that you can log all the changes that have been made. You can also add visualizations, and then those visualizations will be stored in this analysis and can be used in the following steps. That's for quantitative data. For qualitative, as I was mentioning, the idea is that you can first upload your documents, and similarly as we are doing in Deep, You have your extracted text, which is the simplified text. You can run the auto-extract and classification process based on your analytical framework, and you will get a sort of fragments that are available in your text. So the system automatically will suggest you pieces of or fragments between the text that are relevant. However, of course, you have the option as well to go into deep and do it more exhaustive process. And then they will be classified automatically as well, each of the excerpts based on the tag and the analytical framework that you are having. After that, you can add those entries to the database, and they will be available for the next steps. Then you can move into, let's say, now the analysis part. Let's say the beginning was just setting up the environment, bringing the information, preparing the information to be ready for analysis. And then we go into the first step, which is the description part. For this one, you may need to select one of the pillars of your framework. Here we have a simplified version of the deep framework. And let me select, for example, health. And then under the health, we already have 51 entries from 4 different sources. You have the entries here, very similar as you have in deep. But on top of it, you also have some charts or figures that were not available in deep. The idea here is that you can start selecting the entries that kind of are of your interest, and also those charts. And then you can start creating your issues. The issues basically are those stories or issues that you are kind of looking at, and you can start working with the option of aggregating the data or summarizing data in those specific kind of stories or analytical stories that you want to tell. So you have here the option to create or add the stories, give your issue or story a name, select if there is any disaggregation on this one based for geography or sex and age. And then you have an AI assistant that will allow you to at least create a first draft of the description. So you will be generating the description, or what we call a summary. So this is AI generated, and it will be kind of a suggestion, just let's say a baseline for the analyst to start editing those descriptions. So at any time you can just go and kind of do some changes on it. And the same for information gaps and assumptions. We know it's just a starting point, and the idea is that the analyst can start editing those. So being conscious of time, very quickly, once you kind of created your different issues, you will have an overview of those issues by sector, and then at any time you can explore them. Then we move into, I will skip the explanation part, and we move to the interpretation, where you are basically kind of putting those issues and identifying the people in need and the severity of those. So we do know that for GF is a different process, and we have also, let's say, a specific use case for GF where we are just bringing and knowing kind of the different methods and workshops that that the methodology has. We built kind of source of way in which the clusters can upload the data. They can merge the data all together and display the automatic kind of flagging system where you can kind of resolve those flags. For the more general use cases, here you will have the opportunity to set up the total population numbers, and by these groups, these are editables as well. You can select how many people are in those groups. The idea is that you can also send surveys for other team members to collaborate and kind of weigh in those decisions, and basically just bring your team in those decisions. At any time, you can also add comments, and let's say you can assign either create a task or an analytical note, which is key as well to log any important decision or key decision that you have in the system. and those can be then exported. Then you move into the anticipation, where you are just creating risks, and you can let me just expand this a bit. For any of the risk, you can just look at the different issues that you have grouped. And this risk, the idea is that you can assess the likelihood and the impact of the risk. And you will have an outline, and then you can create those scenarios where, depending on the issues that you have here, you can set, enter or let's say write down your outline, and then you have your current situation and the future situation of those issues that you have identified. So this is the way that we are having right now the anticipation. And then finally, you have the communication step, where you can generate a report, basically filtering out the information by any of the pillars or sub-pillars of your generic framework. You can add your analytical steps, the ones that you want to be exporting, geographical levels, documentation piece, which is key, bibliography for the evidence, if you want to include or not analytical notes, the analytical confidence, and the list of participants of your analysis. The idea is that you can also export data sets that you have prepared during the preparation part and expose some of the information through APIs. On top of it, before handing over back to Cecilia, you have the opportunity as well to have these collaborative tools where at any time you can create those comments, notes, surveys, but also workshops. So the idea is that you can have the links for the workshop name, the video call link, and then have the participants send out that email, invite people to have those workshops, and all together participate in a Joe session online. So I think that's, in a very quick manner, a demo of what we currently have in the platform. As Cecilia was mentioning, it's kind of working at some extent, and the idea was to test it. But unfortunately, we now are on hold. But looking forward for your questions or comments. And back to you, Cecilia. Thanks.
Oh, thank you very much for that. It's not easy to try to do a demo. It's quite common. I think I hope you got some kind of picture of what it is. I'm also just resharing this screen. No. Can you see my screen? So just to see that this was a prototype, and now we're working as well, of course, or supposedly work towards integrating it with a user interface that will then be a part of the final system once we are getting further fundings to get going again. The way that we see it, and as you also heard with Herbert, is of course that directly now, with this kind of pause that we are forced to have, we will definitely most likely not be able to deliver for the HPC for 2026, because of course it has a very critical time period that has to start. All of the other use cases are less time sensitive. So the way that we regard it at this point in time is that we might have a pause for 3, 6, maybe up to 9 months before we will be able to continue the work. But as I say, that we see that it is a necessity to have a system like JAWS, and JAWS is already so further advanced as to be able to fill the needs of the common services. But I will stop there and open up if there's any questions or anything in the chat already. I see that there's some AI note takers that have been stopped, but over to you. Feel free to speak out if you have a question directly. And I'm not sure, Madigan, do we have anything in the chat?
Yes, we had one question from Harry. Said, have you integrated with any government data yet, please? Interested in how you overcome any constraints around that.
Thank you very much, Harry. As you understand now as well, when you have seen the demo, etc., and so on, is of course that we are still on the prototype stage. So that means, of course, that we have test data than actual data that we have been working with in the system. So I would say, again, it would also very much depend on what format that it would be from the government that you are thinking of in this case, and how we would deal with that. I think key to this is, of course, the data governance framework or policy that we have that is supporting, of course, to classify different type of data, which is then aligned with the IASC guidance for data responsibility. As to ensure that we can, so to speak, bring that in. But to answer your question directly is that we have not yet had any discussions with a government entity about how that would look like. I don't know, Nayed, if you want to complement there.
No, Cecilia, I echo what you said. I think it's more about which kind of format or kind of connector you would like to have. I mean, ad hoc, you can upload any file that kind of quote unquote any file that you would like to input there. Of course, we have some as deep. We have some privacy concerns there, or let's say you have the ability to say if it's a public document or sensitive or a confidential one, and then from there you can just be able to upload any document. And I think just looking at the chat, Sully, very similar to your question. I think yes, in terms of local sources, we don't have kind of any connector at the moment for local sources. However, if you go to deep and if you just want to focus on qualitative data, in deep you will be able to kind of have RSS feeds if you want to kind of fetch information from that, or manually you can also add either in deep or in JAWS documents from news websites that you can include for kind of including that very specific context for crisis in your analysis. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Najid. Are there any other questions? You are also free to please unmute yourself and ask directly as well.
Okay. So, I mean, there's only a few minutes to go, but maybe just to hear from the group as well. I mean, how useful you can see that the Joint Analysis Workspace might be for your own needs. Of course, you don't need to answer right now on this call, but feel free as well to contact us. I think you can see my screen with basically that you can contact us through the jaws@deep.io or directly to me, of course, as well. Because we are always, of course, looking for different type of use cases to ensure. So that's why we chose the use cases that we did to have kind of a breadth of type of use cases. So it's always interesting in case you see that maybe we will not actually fit into that box, then it could be of interest to kind of define it better for us from our side. So I see they just got another question from Antonio that was basically asking if you could link the project hosted in the platform with another one in JAWS. The idea that how we see those two being linked, we are not trying to duplicate what Deep is doing in JAWS, is exactly that. So if you would like to do substantive qualitative tagging in Deep to ensure that you can go into the nitty-gritty there, then you can link it also through API into JAWS to be able to then take it forward in the analysis process, as JAWS is then supporting that, including, of course, integrating more quantitative data. And doing so is as well that the possibilities to bring in information from one or two different projects in Deep into JAWS as to be able to amalgam them, because we have the possibility then to merge the data. But then, of course, what you need to do is to prepare the mapping of the different type of analytical frameworks that might have been used for the different Deep projects. But then that would be a step, and then importing it towards the new framework that has been established, if that makes sense. But yes, and the logic of the analysis framework is similar in both tools, so definitely. Okay, I think we will say thank you very much for listening in to us. We're very pleased with that. And as I said, feel free to contact us, and looking forward to further engagement. And thank you, Najid, Herbert, and Madigan for support.